On today's True Crime, we're bringing you another twisted murder mystery. One night of forbidden passion will leave 32-year-old Roger Atkinson and 22-year-old Rose Burket bludgeoned to death with an axe in their interstate hotel room. For decades, theories have swirled. Was it a crime of passion, a deal gone wrong, or could it have been a random act of violence? Paul Holes, the investigator who cracked the infamous Golden State Killer case, is here with me. Today he's going to unravel the clues. He's going to place us inside the crime scene. Can you at home, help us solve this case? With me now is cold case investigator Paul Holes, who was able to solve the infamous Golden State Killer case. I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Doctor.
And I know you've done a ton of work, as you always do, trying to figure these cases out. What are the theories that have been circulated over the past few decades about what happened to this tragic couple?
Well, when I first looked at Roger and Rose's case, I initially start my assessment looking at, well, what did the killer do to the victims? How were they killed? So it immediately stood out to me was the number of wounds that Rose had. She had 12 to the back of her head relative to Roger's 7. So now I start thinking, is the offender showing more rage to Rose than Roger? Additionally, her body had been manipulated after death. She had been turned over and covered. So now I start thinking, is there an interpersonal connection between the offender and Rose?
Take us to the evening this happened. What were the events that led up to their ultimate demise?
So they are based out of St. Joseph's, Missouri. Roger is a telephone installer, and that's how he met Rose, is he actually came and worked on her telephone and then established a relationship. Of course, he's married. She's 22 years old. She's a single mom with a young girl that's at home. She gets a babysitter, and then they drive 4.5 hours up to Williamsburg, Iowa, just short of the Amana colonies, and check into a hotel. Now, this hotel, it was unplanned. It was completely booked with an undertaker's conference of all things.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness.
Just to complicate the story. But there was a cancellation, so they were able to check into room 260 at about 7:40 in the evening. And then there's several phone calls. Rose tries to call the babysitter at home, doesn't get an answer, leaves a message. The babysitter calls back at 8:30 in the evening, and there's no answer from Roger or Rose. So I believe it's possible the offender is already inside their room at that point.
This investigation will be far from simple. Investigators have spent decades trying to unravel the string of clues left behind. A lot of questions, Paul. Let's go back to the bodies. How exactly were they discovered?
Well, they are discovered the next day after they checked in. A housemaid discovers this just brutal scene, very bloody scene. So as you can imagine, a maid just walking into something like this, these two victims that have been hatcheted to death.
So the strongest piece of evidence that investigators have right now is what, in your opinion?
The strongest piece of evidence is that after the victims were killed, it appears that the offender went into the bathroom and cleaned up and used a towel. So there's a towel that has some of Rose's blood on it, and then there's an unknown male DNA profile that's also mixed in with Rose's blood.
Up next, we're recreating the night of these murders. Can you use these shocking details to help us solve this crime? Stay with us. I'm back with cold case investigator Paul Holes, discussing the mysterious murder of 32-year-old Roger Atkinson and 22-year-old Rose Burket. They were brutally murdered in their hotel room while engaging in a secret love affair. Now, for demonstration purposes, we've recreated Rose and Roger's hotel crime scene from the tragic night. It's important to note this is not an exact replica, but it's going to help us understand who this killer could have been. So, Paul, walk us through what happened. If you don't mind, start with the body, since you brought them up earlier.
Right.
The fact that Rose had been flipped from how she was actually murdered to how we were finding her.
Yeah, that's right. So in the hotel room, in the bed, you have Roger and Rose laying side by side. Now, at the time that they're being killed, they're both face down. They're both receiving multiple blows from a hatchet to the back of their head. In fact, Roger's got his hands up in a shielding posture, and he's getting his hands cut from the hatchet as it's coming down on him. But then after Roger and Rose are killed, for some reason, the offender turns Rose's body face up and completely covers her. And that often is very significant behaviorally, because when you see victims being covered by the offender, that usually shows a personal connection and or remorse being exhibited towards the victim. Roger's left uncovered.
So let's remove this sheet. When the murders actually took place, they were probably in this position.
That's exactly right.
What does it mean that they were bludgeoned in the back of the head. Does that send any information to you that they were not allowed to see the murderer as he killed them?
Basically, they were forced to lay face down. They're not asleep. They're not anywhere near like in their sleeping attire. The blood evidence shows that both Roger and Rose were killed with the offender standing on Roger's side of the bed.
The position of these chairs, these white pieces of paper, what does this all mean?
So this is actually very significant because there were two chairs that were pulled next close to Roger's side of the bed. One chair had a white towel draped over its back. And looking at that chair, number one, the towel itself did not look like anybody had sat there disrupting the towel. It's very neat in terms of how it was draped. The other significant thing was there's numerous blood drops that had dropped down on that towel. So very, very odd. The offender, in my belief, in my reconstruction, is the offender, after he killed Roger, did not want to sit in the bloody chair, and he pulls the clean chair over. But now he has all the time in the world, and he's sitting there next to Roger and is literally just taking possession of Roger and his wallet.
Does he do the same thing to Rose's possessions?
The interesting thing with Rose is that next to her head on the bed is her wallet, eyeglasses, car keys, and a deck of cards, and those items have blood droplets on them, telling me those items were actually next to Rose at the time that there's the hatchet wounds are being inflicted. But Roger's wallet and the items on the floor have no blood on them. This is happening after they were killed.
So the killer went through Roger's material, did not touch Rose's material.
Right.
He takes his time, he's sitting in a chair, position of power. He then walks into the bathroom. I noticed that he wrote this. What else did he write? Just this?
As of right now, yes, that appears to be the only word that was left behind that was written. I have no idea what the offender was planning on writing, but what's significant is that the offender took the time to start to write. So was he going to send a message, or was he going to try to stage the crime scene to make it look like something it's not?
And then finally we have blood and toothpaste. How does that all play in?
Well, this is where this case gets very interesting. You know, the toothpaste tube is found in the bathroom and it's looking like it has been squeezed out. If the offender did this, the question is why?
Yes, why would you do that? You just murdered two people.
So that's been a huge question in this case. And then as I investigate this case, I end up uncovering some clues as to why the offender might have done that.
So what can we assume based on this information?
Well, I think first and foremost, we know it's a male killer. We have that male DNA. So at least one of the offenders, and there's a possibility there's more than one offender in this room, but I'm saying at least the individual that left the DNA behind is male. I don't think this is the first time this person has killed. He is too comfortable sitting in that chair. He's got Roger completely exposed, horrific, gruesome scene with the hatchet wounds to the back of Roger's head and a lot of blood, and he's just taking his time going through Roger's wallet. So it's showing a level of comfort to being inside this type of scene.
I think these are all wonderful tools for all of us. Keep in mind, this is all information that can be valuable to you at home, but we need your help. So go to droz.com/crimehunters. We're going to have all the information that you need to help us solve this crime. And be sure to watch the shocking twists and turns of this investigation on Paul's fabulous new series. It's called The DNA of Murder. It's airing Saturday, October the 12th on Oxygen. So check it out. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Doc.
And good luck. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.